Welcome to Talking Youth Work, a podcast where we interview experts and practitioners that have a say when it comes to innovation in youth work. My name is Anita Silva, and I do this podcast with Rui Branco. Hi there, dear listener. So after this little interlude, we are back. We are back with a bunch of episodes of Talking Youth Work. We have amazing guests coming up, and today we talked with Katya Sherer. She's a facilitator and an international trainer in the field of youth work, and she was part of a project called Holistic Trainer, and so was I. This was an international project, the Key Action 2 of the Erasmus Plus program, and the project looked into all the dimensions of youth work trainers' lives. So not just what happens in the training room and the competences that you need to display in the training room, but also what is around it. And talking to the community with this project, we realized that there were several aspects that maybe are not so many times talked about, namely emotional, mental, and physical well-being, for example, or the legal matters that surround this work, or the implications of living on the road, of traveling for residential trainings, either international or national, I would say. So the project did a great deal of research, of talking with the community, of bringing resources from outside of our international youth work bubble, and the outputs are out there and free for anybody to use. So today that's the topic of our conversation, and I really hope you enjoy it. So let's talk youth work. Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Hi, Rui. How are you? Long time no see.
Yes, we see each other, but we don't record podcasts.
Which I think is a very good choice, that we still see each other time to time. We value the friendship, and the podcast happens when it happens.
Yes, exactly.
For those who are hearing us, we record quite, I would say, seldomly. Mm-hmm. And it really follows the flow of our lives. So when there is availability, we do it. When there isn't, we are trying to take care of ourselves.
Yeah. But we enjoy it, so we come back to it.
Exactly. It's maybe a way to keep things sustainable, right? It's to keep it enjoyable. Fantastic. Well, today we are sitting here with Katya, who is a good friend as well. Hi, Katya. Good morning. And we decided to do this episode about a project that both me and Katya were involved called Holistic Trainer. And it focused on the well-being of trainers. But before we start talking about that, I wanted to check, let people know where we are standing right now. You are in Lisbon.
In my house, near Lisbon, yeah.
The comfort of your home.
Yeah.
And me and Katya are sitting here together in the comfort of a hotel room in Iceland, actually for the occasion of doing an international tool fair, which is a very cool event as well.
Yeah, one of the favorite.
Yes.
In the youth field.
And so we're taking the opportunity that we're together to record the podcast. So to start, Katya, we always ask our guests, what brought you to youth work? How did you end up? What's your story or your history personally that brought you to the youth work field?
Well, my story starts quite a lot of years ago. I was very young. I was 14. And I saw a TV program actually about one youth organization we had in our town. And they went to the United States. And I was like, I want to go to United States. That was the reason. And yes, and I had an opportunity to take part in one of the activities. And that was life-changing because that was a space where I felt heard and accepted as I am. And I just started to go more to this organization, and it was about peer-to-peer educators. So in 1 year, I already passed the training of trainers and started to run workshops and trainings for my peers. And then I moved to another town for the studies, and we was waiting to be 18 to register our own organization. So that's little by little, I started on very local level, then on national, and in 2005, I got to know Council of Europe and human rights education approach and values and everything. And then I started to be involved on the European level of the youth work. But my passion was always still training, even though I had experience of managing projects and everything. And now I'm a freelance trainer who work with different European institutions like Council of Europe, some national agencies, training youth workers, young people, and not only on the youth field, around the Europe and also beyond on global level. So, yeah.
It was a lot of work just to go to the United States.
Oh, yes. I got there, but
You got there. Yeah. That's what I wanted to ask.
The idea I got, it was in 1995, and I got there in 2000.
It took you 5 years, yeah.
5 years only, yes.
You were swimming.
Yes. From the Barents Sea to the Los Angeles.
So I wanted to ask you that when you were that young, where were you in the world? So what?
I was in Russia in the northwest after the polar cycle, Murmansk. Very close to Norway and Finland, actually. So that was the place where I started. And at that moment, there was a lot of opportunities for young people. It was all new, yes. And I started, actually, it was more American approach to youth work because the organization was established in cooperation with the American organization. So for me, it was also interesting, the shift from American approach to European approach once I got to know Council of Europe and then the Youth in Action program. So
fantastic.
that's interesting.
Well, thank you so much. I recognize also a lot of common elements with other stories, including my own, where we start as young people being recipients, let's say, of youth work programs, and then we go to the field. I think there's a common thread for a lot of us in the field.
Yeah, I think that's how you feel that you're part of the youth field.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and going straight to the topic of our episode today, which is the Holistic Trainer Project. Can you tell us a little bit what inspired the project and what are the project's main goals?
The project idea hit us very hard during the COVID, because as a trainer community, we were meeting online and we were talking a lot about the problems that we all faced. And it was not so much about our professional skills or competences. It was more about how prepared we was for such kind of situation and our psychological well-being at that moment. So we, for example, realized we're not protected at all with the contracts that we have. Many people, they didn't have any jobs because of the traveling. Then we found ourselves spending a lot of times in front of computer, in this ambiguity of what will happen, what will not happen. And so people started to burn out just being online and trying to do things. But then we as well reflected on what was happening. And then many of us were happy that we don't have to travel for this time, because many of us we realized we was actually very tired and on the edge of burnout because of a lot of traveling and work that we have, because it's very demanding. It's not only about give a training, it's about everything around. And that's how we come up with the idea of the project that will be not about the professional competences of the trainer, like not connected directly with training, but everything around the problems that we face. And then we made the survey for the community to ask what are the main areas that are important for us beside the...
You asked the trainers directly.
Yeah, we asked youth work trainers community. We made the first survey, and based on this survey, we identified 5 areas. It was psychological and physical well-being. It was about the life on the road. It was about the legal issues. It was about emotional well-being. Yeah, so, and that's how we come up with the idea, okay, we will do this project. We will make a research about what are the existing resources, maybe not from our field, because there are many other people who are also traveling and have some similar conditions to work. And we will do very practical, hands-on survival guide for the trainers and system that could support us to be well-balanced and know what to do when we face such kind of problem.
So you realize that there's a human being behind the trainer.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, we're human beings, yes.
Because it feels a lot like that, because, we have this, we have a human being here. Yeah, and you just realized it, yeah.
That's true. And that's funny, but that's true. Because we are, I think in our profession, we're so much focused on the trainings and on the work that many times we forget about ourselves. And that's because we come from the youth field, yes, as young people. And then for us, this is for many of us.
You're not young anymore.
We're not, but we try to be. So we're like, oh, no, this is...
I can do it.
There's this kind of militance. There's this passion about what we do because we come from the field, and because maybe we transport these conceptions about what it is to be a trainer or a youth worker, to that matter. That when you're working with groups, you are fully available. You're the people that you work with are your focus, obviously, and that
your colleagues, your friends,
exactly,
almost your family,
exactly. And sometimes then it becomes very difficult to separate our identity from, and also then our well-being from what we do.
Yeah, and service doesn't have to mean sacrifice, and sometimes we're in service of, but we sacrifice a lot of ourselves.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a very wise thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's why I'm here. Otherwise,
exactly. That's what I was just going to say. That's why we have you in this podcast. Just one question, Katya. You mentioned several times we decided. Who is we? Because I wanted to introduce the guild and.
It was International Youth Work Trainers Guild, where guild, association of trainers who work in the international youth work field. And and our main aim is to raise the quality of the youth work through the quality of the trainings by the work with youth work trainers. And as well, I think now one of the aims, we see it more and more clear, it's the advocating for the recognition of our profession. We're at the beginning of this way now, like to do it really with a lot of strength and vision. Yeah. So
it's an organization that represents
trainers community, international trainers community. We call international because it's not only about the European Union trainers, it's also trainers from the neighboring countries, like Eastern Europe and Caucasus, Southeast Europe, South Med region. So we're quite geographically wide community of trainers.
Very good. And this is a good tip. We can put the link of the guild at the end of the episode. So if there are trainers out there that are listening, and if you want to join, you can become a member. And there's a number of advantages to join the guild. So just a little bit of a plug there to the guild. We were talking about this idea of ourselves that we have as youth work trainers, very maybe militant, very... identified with a mission, let's say. What do you think are some common misconceptions that we have about the well-being of youth work trainers?
Well, I think one of them is starting I just remember my first training of trainers, and they was like, you should spend your free time with participants. And then you should be available 24/7. I remember this concept changing. Yes, now it's changing slowly. You don't have anymore to be 24/7 with participants. But this dedicating your fully and not finding time for yourself, and just to take step back and to do something for you, to go for a walk, for example, to do some physical activity or some mental well-being activity like meditation or breathing or whatever else, or just to take a rest. So this is one of the concepts. Then when we're hired for 7 days and there's no work hours limit. And you can spend sometimes I remember working 20 hours till 4 a.m, developing new concept of the program because they all didn't work. And then you really... You're exhausted and you burn out. So I think this is then another thing, because we're working mostly for the non-profit sector. You cannot really negotiate about your salary. Like you're not working for money, and this is not true, because finally, if it's your profession, this is your way of living as well. But this is also created this burnout, because I work a lot, but I don't have enough money, not like other people who is working for money. And this is another concept of the misconcept.
Yeah. I think that I see as well with even from the higher institutions that hire us, our clients, sometimes I think that there's a lot of misconceptions that either that we earn a lot per day and therefore it's very easy to live this life. Or I think sometimes it's not very visible that the flow of work that there happens during the year affects us greatly. Like there's clearly high seasons where there's a lot of work, where all the institutions are planning their events, and then in that moment there's a lot of requests from trainers. And I think if you work at national or local level, this happens as well.
Yeah, sure.
Either you're very busy in summer or very busy just before Christmas, or just there's peaks. And then there's times that there's nothing. And it's really hard to manage our flow of work, because you are either overtired because everything is happening at the same time and you have no time for yourself, or there's no work happening and you're getting stressed because maybe you're not going to have enough work.
But you're working also on proposals, so it's not that you're not doing nothing. So it's not that time. It's the stress of not having the money but still working.
Yeah.
So it's double stress.
It's another misconcept. We're not working only during the trainings.
Yeah.
We working a lot. Yes, and it's not only about people-to-people work. It's that we talked with Anita today. It's a lot about the computer work.
Yeah.
We are sitting in front of laptops actually a lot of time spending preparing proposals, writing reports, whatever.
Deliverables that have to be done outside the trainings and all that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And also it's another people don't see it, but we spend a lot of time on our education and professional development as well. It's not that you just did training of trainers and you become a great trainer. No, you always should learn. And this is lifelong learning. And
you need to research I think for every single project, we need to research on a topic that we're delivering, even if it's something that we have some expertise on, which we should. Then there's always kind of an update. There's always new information you need to look up. Obviously, you are researching about your learners as well before you start working. And so there's a lot of learning and intellectual work that goes behind it, that is way beyond just being in front of a group and knowing a couple of methods to facilitate a discussion, which I think it becomes invisible work.
Yeah, this is some people don't appreciate and maybe don't see so much. And then you work in the team of trainers, and sometimes you work for the first time with the person. You see them first time at the preparation, and you have to find the way to work together. And we're not all very nice, or we're not all matching ideally to each other. It's not the So.
All right. So how did the project address these challenges? So you've talked about the categories. I wanted to repeat them just to make sure that for our listeners it's more or less clear, although we will add the link to the project and you can find them there. But you said physical well-being, mental and emotional well-being.
Life on the road. Legal issues, and then self-promotion.
Yeah, self-management.
Self-management and self-promotion.
Fantastic. So how did the project address these challenges? What did the project, how did you guys went about? Well, I was also involved,
but you're resting now. You're in the well-being phase now.
Yes, I'm not there.
Actually, that was for me, it was very interesting and very exciting process, because even though we made the questionnaire before we wrote the project, once we did it, we still continue with questionnaire and with focus groups. And we were talking with the community to identify more details about each of the areas. So what exactly is bothering you? Where exactly you have problems? But then also people started to work to share their experiences and advices already on that stage, and that was very valuable. We started to gather the data from the community, and we realized that we have a lot of wisdom in between us. Once we start to talk about it, and many people, they had already a lot of very beautiful hacks and advices about different questions that would be there. And then we also did the desk research, because we wanted to see how other fields are managing this. And then we started to prepare for webinars. We started to look for professionals, maybe not only from our field, even though in our field we found a lot of beautiful professionals who are working in the frame of one of these areas. And based on these focus groups, desk research, we had the holistic lab where we gathered 25 trainers. We were looking at the results, and we were already structuring more the information into the guide. Yeah, because one of the products we have is survival guide. There are like 5 parts.
Yeah, mini guides.
Mini guides on each of the areas with very practical advices, with very practical problems that you can have based on the research. And then with very practical advices on how to deal with this. And then we had a series of webinars where we were inviting professionals to give us advices. Like, for example, we have one on the psychological support, and we had 3 psychologists who are working in our field as well. And they were sharing about different types of therapy and how to find your therapist. And so it's really, I think it's very practical. I don't have a lot of theories. No, it's very going up to the point.
Yeah. 2 things came while I was listening. I was thinking that you have a lot in common with athletes that travel a lot, because it's not just the performance of the athlete, it's also the trainings before the game. It's also the traveling, the being away from the family. And another thing is, how did you address the question that you're already doing a lot of things now? Is the guide to do 10 more things for your well-being? I'm already full of things. It's the art of saying no. How did you convince the trainers that doing less was what they needed?
Actually, I think we also convinced ourselves. I changed a lot through the process.
Yeah, me too.
Yes, and I think all the advices, it was not about doing more things. It's more about how to value yourself and your work more. We even have a chapter on this, how to price yourself and how to count your working hours. This is very helpful now. I'm using it myself. Yes, it's not about additional things. It's about more how to optimize your time and your energy. So these are advices, not that I now go to therapy. No. But
yeah, I think, for example, a lot of the advices we were giving on the physical well-being, for example, it's about acknowledging that while on the road and while delivering trainings, you really still need to take care of your body, which is something that very easily we forget because we are so absorbed with the program, with the participants, with their needs. And so just the fact of having ideas on how you can make sure that you can do exercise, what can you travel with that is light, that can help you to do that, or how can you use the group actually and the group activities to ensure that you're doing your own physical advice. I think for me that was relevant, or just how you should carry your backpack and how you should not carry your backpack.
Or how to pack your backpack. We have a webinar and there is a guy who's sharing how to pack your suitcase on the best way that you have everything that you need.
And it's amazing to realize that it's just so simple and obvious thing that we get in the rush to doing stuff and, we need this marker, we need this. How are you going to pack all this?
Yeah, that's true. And also, like many colleagues shared, that they had their lists for packing, for example, and then they shared their list, and then we created the list of things that might be helpful to you. So once you pack, you just take the list and you don't think.
You don't have to think every time. Yes. This is so useful.
Otherwise, you'll take your house.
Yes, sometimes happening to me.
Or you take markers, but you forget your underwear.
Yes. Who needs underwear in a training? You just need the markers.
And it's okay. Yes, underwear you can buy in your markers. Maybe not. Yeah.
Easier to find underwear than markers.
Yeah, that's true.
One thing that the program created that I wanted to ask you about, I think it's very interesting, were both audios about the problems of trainers, where you can actually hear the voices of trainers sharing their stories. Tell us more about that.
Yes, there was a part because we wanted also to community to recognize this, that we all share common problems, and to call the attention of the people from the community. So we recorded the voices of the trainers, where different trainers who are working on the field was sharing different situations that happen to them with the humor. I just remember one of these about when you take too much job on yourself, you end up 3 trainings in a row, and then like what it can cause. So it was with humoristic, but real voice, yes, of us telling this, hello, we're here. And those are the problems that we face. And then we made another thing. It's short videos, hotline for trainers, that also address in a very humoristic way, but some very serious problems and challenges that we face. So I think this makes me as a trainer feel good because, I'm not alone. There are colleagues around that face the same. So, and it's not actually shame to talk about it. I can talk sometimes even just to talk about it. I think it's very important. So this...
It's not that something wrong with me. It's part of the job. Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of the system.
Yeah, and I think that is part of building a community, and it's part of recognition of the profession. It's also about ourselves recognizing each other, recognizing our struggles, and discovering these common challenges that we face, and seeing that, okay, we are together in this as well. I think sometimes we see recognition, something as it's an external thing, a paper, or some kind of a certificate, some kind of a legal recognition, which is important, I think, and which is one of the challenges in our field, the lack of recognition, even within the programs where the trainers are not so mentioned in both Erasmus Plus and Solidarity Corps programs. But it's also about us recognizing each other and seeing ourselves as a community of professionals.
It's about validation. If you don't validate your experience, you cannot express your experience to the people that can validate it in regulations and all those kinds of things.
Absolutely.
And this is another outcome of the project. I think that we started to talk more about the recognition of profession of the trainer, because when we were looking at the legal issues, for example, contractual problems, etc., it's very clear the profession is not recognized. And then we look to the guide of the Erasmus Plus, we're there, but we're not there. So that I also think it bring more discussions and the recognition in the community of the existence of this problem as well.
Yeah.
So the trainer is like Harry Potter, the one we cannot say the name or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, we're there, but
you don't exist.
We're very important.
I think for some years actually there's a sense of this kind of proud invisibility.
Yeah.
It's like because it's true, the spotlight shouldn't be on us. The spotlight during a training, the spotlight is on the participants, or it's on the young people. It's on the change we want to make. It's not on us, obviously, but that does not mean that as a profession, we cannot be seen or our problems cannot be recognized. But there was I think, at least in my experience, maybe this is very personal, but I feel that there is this kind of proud invisibility that is underlying sometimes some of these issues that we don't value enough our experiences.
And I think it's about also the service, because I remember I was trained, yes, that you as a trainer, you are not the center of the learning process. No, those are participants. You should be very humble, and you just facilitate and you create the space for them and you provide them with the tools.
But it's the same like telling a doctor, well, you have to care for the health of the others, so you shouldn't take care of your own health as a means to take. But one thing doesn't imply the other, of
and
course.
Especially here, you're part of the experience. There's no teaching without the teacher. There's no learning without the student. So it's all the same thing. And if one of them is not okay, it's not a good experience.
Exactly.
But I also think that we are growing as profession as well, because when I started, there was no such profession as a trainer. It was, we were calling facilitators, whatever. And then with the years, more and more trainers around. Okay, maybe in the United States, there was speakers and coaches. And then from the end of the 90s, the profession started to form, but not recognized yet. And I think we're learning in the process, we're growing as well through the mistakes that we do, and not only mistakes, successes.
Yeah, but with American speakers and coaches, they jump on stage. If you don't jump on stage, people don't see you.
Yeah, yeah, that's different.
We also jump a little bit with our participants, we have to say.
It's the American side of European training.
Yes.
I wanted to look at this more like we're doing now, looking at more on the global perspective of this, on a wider, like the wider landscape. And I wanted to ask you, how do you see this project influencing the wider youth work sector?
Well, the first answer I get is, and I was reflecting a lot, because I think it will make the rise up the quality of the youth work in general. Because if we start to take care about ourselves, it's like you cannot take care about others if you don't take care about ourselves. I think this is something that we learned, all of us, during the COVID period. It was very, so by taking care of ourselves, we will bring more quality to the training field, and then trainings have more quality and people receive more, and then all the youth work field is gaining more conscious approach to what we do and why we do, and then to quality.
But also, I think in the longevity of your careers, because if you burn at 40, all of the knowledge and the wisdom that you gathered through the years, people won't be able to tap into it, because if you burn out at 40, all that could have developed till you were training at 60 or 70 or whatever you choose to do, it's
this
lost.
is another because when we was 20, there was no 40 years old train. Okay, maybe there was one two, and we also going with the profession, we're like becoming older and older, and new questions are. And another, I have idea for another project for the women trainers, because that's another thing when women trainers are disappeared when they become mothers, for example, and then you have. So there are a lot of things that going in line.
And I think it's a matter of sustainability. When we talk a lot of now in youth work and the European policies related to youth work, we're talking more about sustainability and greening the projects. But I think sustainability is also about human sustainability. So, right, it's the human aspect of it, of how you take care of the quality of life of the humans involved, all of the humans involved, the learners, obviously, the young people, the youth workers, but also the trainers. And I would go wider than that, and also the policymakers, and also the people who are working in the institutions, making the programs happen. And we see a lot of people being overloaded, there's a lot of
burnout.
There's burnout, there's turnover very quick in some institutions. So on a wider scale, I think we need to look at the quality of life of all the professionals involved. And here, focused on trainers, I think that we do have this feeling that everything is an individual problem, right? And it's not. It's actually a systemic problem. Some of these issues. It doesn't mean that we don't enjoy our profession, that we don't feel grateful for it, that it's not a big drama, let's say, but it is. Recognizing that these experiences are valid and they need to be looked at, and that we can find solutions together. In that sense, I think it can be very important.
The healthy solution as well,
exactly.
healthier way of work.
One of the questions that I have is, can a trainer have a family? Because all the traveling that you do, how can you organize that in your life? And also, a person with a family has a different experience from a trainer that doesn't have a family. So if only trainers without family give training, it's a very narrow experience.
Luckily, we have a lot of colleagues that have a family. So it's not impossible. It comes with challenges, I guess, but it's not impossible.
And also there is more and more support as well from the institutions. Yes, like, for example, if you're a young mother or young father, to bring your children as well with you. And but I think this is something that we're discovering, but we have a lot of colleagues with the families. I have a family, only husband, no children. But still, many people asking me, is it possible? And I think it's all about the relations and how you talk with your partner. But of course, it's not the same experience. If you live every day, in the evening you meet each other, you have dinner together. No, it's a bit different dynamics, but it's possible.
I wanted to ask you a more personal question. So you were saying that also you, as a partner in this project, grew a lot and changed throughout the making of the project. Maybe you realized a few of your own issues. So what would be one piece of advice you would give to youth trainers when it comes to managing their own well-being? That's something that worked for you.
I for example, one of the things that I start to do a lot is taking care about myself during the training and not feel guilty when at 8 in the evening I say, or at 9, I say, sorry, I need to go because I have I do my yoga, for example. Yes. So I need this, my meditation time for me, or I just need time for myself. Yeah. To put the boundaries in between the working time and your time, or to go for a walk. And it's totally okay to say, okay, let's make team meeting until this time because I need time for myself to take a rest. So, and this is something that we all should be able to. And sometimes we're not feel like, oh, all the team wants to work till 2 a.m. No, it's okay to be this voice that will say, sorry, but if I work till 2 a.m. tomorrow, I'm not able to function 100%. Yes.
And you're also being an example because sometimes when you get to, all the team is wanting to work. No, it's not that all the team wants to keep working. It's no one in the team is saying, I'm tired and I need to rest. So every time one person gives the example of, I'm tired and respects its boundaries. So it's anytime one person does it, it's a good example. So and it has ripple effects.
Yeah. And another very important thing, it's about pricing yourself. We have very cool webinar about self-promotion. It's I'm remarkable that I worth it. And we have very good chapter in the guide about how to price yourself. And I think it's also very important. It's influence your emotional well-being and physical well-being, how to say your price and how to calculate your working hours, how really you work. So this is more material side.
Yeah. but it's also part of it. As myself, I there was a time in my life that talking about money and talking about the price of my work was shameful. Oh, I love what I do, or I don't. I shouldn't. But at the end of the day, we need to eat. We have to pay the house. We have to pay the car or whatever, or the bicycle. Money is part of the equation. If you don't have a sustainable financial life, you don't have a sustainable training life. So
if you don't have place where to come back and feel good, like your home, then it's very hard to be on the trainings, to be calm. And you need, for me, I need this recharging place, let's say. For me, my home is very important, for example.
Okay, I think we are almost closing our conversation. There is 2 important questions that are kind of a tradition in our episodes. One of them is a question that our previous guest left for you. I don't know, Rui, if you want to go over it.
Yes. I think we already know the answer, but what problem are you contributing in solving in what you are doing?
Well, it can be about the project, but it can be further than the project also.
Broader than the project.
For me, I think since I started youth work, for me, the main problem is that I am addressing is that young people feel accepted and feel the power that they have inside, and that they can bring change and they can change things. And I think this is one of the most important missions, is to make feel every young person being important part of the life of the community, of the society. And through this, empowering them to changes. Like it doesn't matter. I work a lot with the peace education, for example. This is as well about realizing that you are an important part of this process and you can bring the change. So I think this is the main, one of the main things that I work. So every time I work on the project, for me as well, is it about young people when we talk about the youth field? Will it help them? Doesn't matter if I work with youth workers, then to transmit it through them. And I think this is
nice. Acceptance and empowerment. Sound good.
Well, and if you would have to leave a question for the next guest, what would it be?
About youth work, no?
Yeah.
Okay.
It can be lasagna, but I don't think people will know much about lasagna.
I would say it can be a stupid question, no?
Yeah, it can be.
There are no stupid questions.
I I want them to share the funniest situation that happened to them.
A funny situation that happened
while they was doing the youth work.
Okay.
Funniest situation with the big impact.
Okay. Funny situation that maybe has, let's hope, a positive impact.
Yeah, positive impact. Okay.
If you can laugh about it, it had a positive impact.
Yeah.
Before we go, where can youth work trainers find all this information? The guides, the audios from training. Where can we find all this?
Very important thing, Anita. Actually, yes, we have you can find all the materials on the website of the Guild, and Anita will share it. But we also have massive open online course on holistic trainer, and it has 5 playlists, 5 modules. On each topic, and there inside you can find all the materials that we did by the topics. I think this is also very comfortable to navigate. You don't have to go through them in order. You can go to one topic, then go to another topic. So I think this is the best way if you want to have the whole vision and if you want to have everything in the same place. But also on the website it's quite nicely divided and how you say it, oh my God. It finally, you can recognize it easily and you can go there from product to product.
It's easy to navigate both the MOOC, I would say, and the sites. And in the site there's a support system as well with a lot of simple information, like there's a glossary of terms that we use, or where you can find training of trainers,
or how to support each other, like concept of learning trios that we have in Guild, because in Guild usually we have people like supporting trios in between us,
peer support,
and also there are a lot of card games that was developed during the project, and you also can find all of them there.
The Orai cards.
The Orai cards, yes. You've been there, Rui. You've been.
I checked, and I also want to mention the trios. I was in a training as a recipient of the training. We also had trios, and it's very impactful to have like those trios in that training. At the end of the day, the trio gathered together and shared the experience of the day, and it was an amazing experience. So I'm a fan of trios.
Cool. Join the Guild. Are you a trainer?
I don't think I am, but I'm not. So I have to recognize the trainer in me.
You're many things. You're many things.
Once you recognize, you can come to us. Have your trio, like not only
I'll find my trainer inside.
Your inner trainer.
My inner trainer.
All right, Katya, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting.
And thank you for this wonderful project as well. And we'll be here talking youth work. Thank you, Rui.
Bye, see you.
Thank you. Ciao.
This podcast was brought to you by Tim Mais, recorded and edited by Rui Branco. You can check all our other episodes at talkingyouthwork.podbean.com. See you next time.